Hello, today we're going to explore how to use models of reflection in a professional capacity or in industry. There are templates available to support teachers and students to develop their reflective practice in our T-level student resource pack. Let's start by thinking about what reflection is in a work context. One definition can be seen here: the ability of a professional to critically, realistically and constructively review one's own performance in order to take necessary actions to improve abilities and/or maintain motivation towards teaching and learning goals. The important terms here seem to be reviewing practice with criticality and realism, using practical approach to inform the review. This then leads to some sort of action, making changes which improve practice or maintain motivation, and these would be towards specific goals. Reflective practice requires you to be more objective, to explore what you do, review all aspects of your work and how you can maintain or improve the standards required within your industry context. So let's start by explaining how this could be structured. The first stage would be to carry out a professional activity. For a T-level, one example of this would be the employer set project, where a reflection task is completed. Once you've completed the activities, you'd use them as the basis of your reflection. What went well, what didn't work so well, and what were the factors which impacted on how well everything went? How did your approach impact on success? And you could also consider the involvement of others. When reflecting, it's important to be objective. Take a step back and look what happens from the outside. Imagine you're an onlooker, not involved personally, and evaluate what happened, why it happened. You might also ask for the input of others at this point, the professionals you work with, to get their input from their perspective of others around you. Really think about who this might be and ensure you gain input and feedback from the most relevant people, even those who might be difficult to ask. The next step or stage would be for you to use the findings of the reflections and the evaluations to inform a plan of action. What might or will you do to address any issues? Will you change something or keep doing things the way you were? You should have personal justifications for what you choose to do here. If you're not going to change anything, focus on why this is so. For areas where you will change things, what has informed the changes? Why have you chosen the changes you have? You need to think very carefully and objectively here to have the best and most positive impact. If you have received some ideas from others, again, be objective and make a professional judgment on whether or not you're going to try them out. It can be quite difficult to critically review your work and take criticism from others, but using an objective, professional approach allows you to make informed choices which will help maintain high standards or improve or develop any areas we need to. Okay, so we've reflected on our practice and made a plan. The next step or stage would be to put the plan into action. It's also important to review the changes you make and their impact, whilst also reviewing any areas which remain unchanged and how well they are going. Again, involving others here, and then finally, review how well the whole process has gone with some more long-term planning of action. The stages or steps could be seen to overlap or even be more cyclical. It's important to acknowledge here that reflective practice is very much an ongoing process without start and end points, that the most successful professionals embed this into everything they do. Okay, let's look at some models of reflection, starting with Kolb's experiential learning cycle. The first stage in this model is having the concrete experience, and generally this could be planned or unplanned. We do something or carry out a work activity, and we start off by describing what happened, which then takes us to the second stage, and this is where we reflect on what happened. We review the activity and carry out an objective review related to why we think the activity went the way that it did, what influenced what happened, and what were the impacting factors related to how successful it was. Did anyone else have an impact or provide feedback to you? Once this is completed, we then make links to other facts or knowledge and understanding, we have to make sense of the experience. That's what Kolb means by abstract conceptualization, and is particularly important for something that's new. This learning involves using theories, logic and ideas rather than feelings to understand problems or situations. The final stage is to actively experiment with any new knowledge, learning or understanding gained from the whole process. Professionals can plan for the future regarding what they have gained from applying this reflective cycle and how it informs their future practice. This is easy to relate to relearning something new, but it can be just as beneficial to use an existing activity or practice to review its effectiveness or success. The second model from Gibbs's reflective cycle, there are 5 stages in this, starting with a description of what happened, then asking yourself, what were my feelings and reactions, and what was I thinking? How did these impact on the activity? And then an evaluation of how good or how bad the activity went, including the why and the how. Then, the next stage relates to you making conclusions, and this includes considering alternatives. What else could you have done? What you could have done differently, and how this might have impacted on the activity. The final stage relates to planning a course of action based on the above step. What would you do differently if you carried out the activity again? Gibbs also suggests that you'd start the process again, that the next time you carried out the activity or a similar one, you'd start with these 5 stages over again. So, to summarise reflective practice, you would carry out an activity, review what you did and the influencing factors, and then reflect on what you've done and how the activity went. And the important bit here is the why it went the way that it did. You'd then be evaluative and see what you can learn from the experience, which will then inform planning how to improve or further develop your practice. And remember that there are always ways in which we can improve. And then finally, review any changes made to continually develop what we do, especially as new tools, systems and processes become available in our ever-changing world.